Hey everybody. Okay, so I had a question the other day about the gut microbiome. I mentioned that in some writings, and someone said, "What is that exactly?" And so I think me being in this industry overall, when I'm explaining things, it's like, oh my gosh, like that's a question. This is really a great question though, and I want to spend some time going through this. So the gut microbiome is, let me show you in a picture. So when we talk about the gut is your gut microbiome. So we have a gut feeling that actually means something. So you have I think I have this turned on, your stomach right there. And then you have your small intestine that goes through, and it's about 9 meters long. So what, 10 yards? Something like that. So when it's undone all the way, so it's really long. There's a lot of twists and turns in there. And that's your small intestine. So food goes in there. And then it goes into your large intestine and it comes out your butt. So rectum, I'll use the proper scientific term. So out of your rectum. Interestingly, inside of this is considered outside of your body. Did you know that? So you have let's see if I can draw. That's a mouth. That's an eye. There's someone's nose. Okay, so food's going in your mouth, right? That's still like outside the body because it's open to the air. And then as it goes all the way through and out your rectum, that's actually considered outside of your body. So that doesn't really matter for this purpose. This is where your gut does all of its stuff. And in there, we have all of this different bacteria. About 6 pounds and trillions of bacteria. There's like 10,000 that could be on the head of a needle, or the head of a needle. So they're super tiny. Some of them just sit there in the crooks and crevices of our small intestine, because the small intestine, there's part of it that's some parts that are smooth, some part that have different jagged edges and things like that. Some of the bacteria will just sit there. Others can move around, and others do different things. So they're all different. You can see here's a list of the kind. When I look at this, I go, whatever. But here, it's something interesting. Here's strep right there. We have strep in our body. It's just when it gets into the wrong place in our body that it becomes a bad thing. So bacteria is good. There is bad bacteria. There's bacteria that can harm us. But bacteria is good. So are viruses. So is fungus. So are all those things. We have all of those in and on our body right now, and they all serve purposes. So the gut microbiome's job is to do like a million different things. Here's another picture here. Gut dysbiosis. When we say that we have a poor gut microbiome, we have all of these problems, literally starting from the gut. Every disease known to humankind will start from gut dysbiosis. And you're like, oh my gosh, so I really should pay attention to this. But what do I do? Well, I talk a lot about what things we shouldn't do in here, which you can see there's heart attacks, obesity, type 2 diabetes. None of these things should happen. None. All of these things, and these are all reversible. Well, if you are too far down the road with atherosclerosis, there might be a surgery that for putting in stents and things like that. But it is all reversible. And that's what you're doing here. And that's what I'm doing with you, is trying to reverse all the crap we did in our lives, including me. In fact, there's things that I fairly recently learned that I'm done with. And I'll tell you what one that is when we go. Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, depression, anxiety, pain, stress. None of those things should exist. And you go, well, there's stress in the world. Absolutely. But you will be able to, if your gut microbiome is healthy, you will be able to handle stress better. You'll be able to handle anxiety better. A lot of the pain that we have is simply because of poor messages or poor cell signaling from the gut microbiome. Hypothyroidism, so thyroid issues. So autoimmune disorders being Hashimoto's and tons of autoimmune disorders. Sarcopenia, so your bones, arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease. It all starts here and it all can be fixed right here. Okay, let's go through. I'm trying to keep this short and sweet for you. The gut-brain connection. So literally, scientists say that there is another brain that we have in our head in our gut. It's so smart. It doesn't think the way that this does, but it thinks internally in our body to send signals back and forth to the brain. So when your gut is off, your bacteria is off, your gut bacteria is wiped away, it just can't send the signals to your brain. And we experience thousands of different things. So interestingly, researchers that have gone to the Amazon River Basin, Amazon, whatever, and find tribes that live, and they still exist, that live in mud huts and they grow their own stuff and they don't have any really much human interaction. They've tested, and how do they test it? With feces. So they look at the amount of what kind of bacteria. They have like 100 times more diversity in their gut microbiome, or their flora, we call it, than Americans do. And it's really sad to me that we are this advanced at this time in our life, and we don't know anything about this. We don't know it, and we're that bad, so much worse than people who just live in the dirt and on the land. I mean, God created this correctly. We've screwed it up. So that's when we say whole real foods from the earth and going back to what God made. God's got it all figured out. We don't have to redo this. Okay, gut-brain connection. It's not just your stomach. You saw the picture. It's all your intestine. The brain is constantly communicating with your gut, 9 meters long. There are nerve cells in the gut all throughout, different ones that release neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine. You've talked about, you've heard someone says, well, that's just giving you a dopamine hit. So there's certain videos that I like to watch on YouTube. So certain genres and things that I'm interested in, and I watch it. And then if Kelly comes to me, she's like, you are watching so much of that. It's because it's giving me a dopamine hit. It's giving me a good feeling. Like I like watching that for whatever reason. And the things we don't like to do, it does the opposite. It's not giving us the dopamine hit. So we're always attracted to the things that give us that dopamine hit. Okay. The brain based on what you eat and experiences you have. Okay. So it's not just what you eat that gives it good stuff. And foods that are good for it are fermented foods. Kimchi, which is fermented cabbage. If you ever seen a jar, you probably all had kimchi at a Chinese restaurant or whatever. But you go to the grocery store and look at a jar of kimchi. It looks so disgusting, but it tastes so good. And one of the reasons that we crave bubbly soda, because our gut microbiome is screaming for us to get fermented foods in our body. And our body knows that fermented foods, bubbly. So when you open it, there's a little bit of a pop and it's kind of fizzy and it tastes like that. Little fermented. That's what our body really wants. It doesn't want a bubbly soda. That works. It takes care of that dopamine hit for that. But our body is craving something fermented. Kefir, which is fermented, milk, buttermilk, yogurt is great. And these are things you've known and heard of. Kombucha, which is fermented tea. Sauerkraut. Well, I always have a jar of sauerkraut, and I'll just reach in there and just take 2 or 3 bites of the sauerkraut. But it's also important to get a diverse amount of it. So we get it in what we eat, and we also get it with the experiences that we have. So then our body can our brain can destroy parts of the gut microbiome by stress, not sleeping very well. So those are the experiences, the reactions we have to things, the negative reactions that we have. So that's why we talk about in the nurture phase, the manifestation phase, of taking care of yourself and reducing a little bit. That's where I falter tremendously. I mean, it's a stress for me to put out this video. Not that I like doing it, but it's a lot of work to put it together. And I go, okay, I'm having experience. It's probably hurting, but then you've got to turn your mind and look at it a different way. Okay, let's move on. Along the digestive tract, there is a unique variability in acidity in your gut. So there's all these different areas, which is why this picture right here shows that this bacteria lives in here, this is in here, this. And so if it went to a different part of the intestine, it wouldn't live. It needs that perfect acidity balance. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Some things that'll shock you. Let's talk about where does it come from? So where does this bacteria come from? So it starts when you're born. In your mother's womb, research right now still believes that it is a sterile environment. You don't have a flora until you're born. And the second you're born, it's almost like there's a free-for-all with bacteria. They're looking for a host. That's a good thing. So the positive things, I'll talk about that. But that's where we start from. Mostly we get it now as adults from human and animal interactions. So we got a couple dogs, and they'll lick my face or lick my mouth or whatever when I turn away. It may not be bad for you. We're getting bacteria in there, bacteria that our hands touch, that it goes into our mouth. So I put this out there. Be done with ever using hand sanitizer again. Forever. Not only does that get rid of all the good bacteria that your body's collected, all the good, but it's destroying all of that, but it also shortens your telomeres. Telomeres are in your DNA. There are caplets on it, and the shorter that they get, it means that our life is being reduced. So I'll throw out some controversial things. You'd be like, no way. So we've been using that, especially during COVID. We used a ton of that. Stop using it. So how do you clean yourself? Soap, just regular good soap. straightforward soap that doesn't have, and I forget the active ingredient that's in hand sanitizer, but just don't ever use it again. It will shorten your life. And it's bad. It's taking away all the bacteria. It is also modified by behavioral interactions. So our stress, how we feel, how we think about things, our nutritional interactions, and that's what we do. Our mood and reactions to an external world is how our gut microbiome is controlled. So what are the things that will hurt your gut microbiome? Starches. It feeds the wrong kind of bacteria, and it leads to the imbalances that create issues. So imbalances tremendously. So literally everything starts from in the gut. That's like your initial place. And it sends signals and neurotransmitters to the brain. And then the brain sends signals to your endocrine glands, your adrenal glands, your ovaries, all of those things. So if your gut microbiome isn't good, you've got a problem. Cut grains and or keep them within your percentages and keep them low. So I will say I bolded wheat because if I go on a cutting diet, so in other words, I want to get really lean, I want to lose weight, first thing I'm going to cut is all wheat-based product. I put on here oats, rice, and corn. They're better for sure, but that's if we're keeping it in that 15 to 40% range and 40% for only a little bit of the month, that's okay. I mean, we're okay with that. It's just not having an overabundance of it. In the plants, glyphosate, if you heard of that. So glyphosate is the weed killer that if you go to the store and you buy Roundup, it has glyphosate in it. That's the active ingredient in Roundup. Farmers use it. You've probably heard about this. It's everywhere. I think that it has a lot to do with the downfall of human health tremendously. Perhaps autism. I think there's a roundabout connection with that. You're not going to ever stop glyphosate, which is created by Monsanto. Huge money. You're never going to stop them from using it. But the funny thing is that farmers will buy tons and tons and tons of glyphosate, and they will dilute it down to a very low amount. If you have a yard and you love just spraying that weed killer on every little weed and spraying it all over the place, you're using it almost full blast. So sometimes people's yards are more dangerous than farmers' fields. But it's on the foods, and we'll talk about the foods that collect more of the glyphosate than others. But it has antibacterial properties that kill bacteria and kill your gut microbiome, and it's on and in foods. It's everywhere. It is shown that it's already in brand new fetuses that come out of their mother. It's in breast milk. It is in everything now, and it's a problem. It's a real big problem. GMO foods. So the reason that GMO foods, genetically modified organisms, right, was created, it was to have bigger yields of crops for a cheaper price. And it works because when they genetically modified the seeds, it creates a pesticide-free herbicide, gets rid of the weeds and things like that, and gives a bit bigger yield. So great for a growing population world. Great. Like we kind of need that. But what does that do for us? I put question mark because the research is still out. I would say stay away from it for now. But I don't know how you're not going to get it because it's almost in everything. Just know that I believe it's not a good thing. Okay. Cut your seed oils. We've talked about this in the course, but that's one of the things that hurts your gut microbiome. Cut processed foods, all foods packaged by man with artificial colors, preservatives. Think about preservatives. It prevents bacteria from spoiling food. So you have this food that has these preservatives in it. So what's that going to do in your body? It's going to go and kill good bacteria. So we have so many ways that we kill good bacteria in the last 50 years in our world. Maybe more, maybe a little less, a lot of different things. Natural flavors. So cutting out processed foods and just going back to what God put on the earth. Not easy, right? We're rushed. We want things in packages. There was a lady I was working with not too long ago, and she refused to ever, she only would eat prepackaged food. She didn't cook. She wanted just to tear something open and eat it. And I said, look, this isn't going to work. You can't do that. I mean, you can, but if you want these results, you have to change that. All right. Minimize intake of alcohol. You probably saw that one sitting down there going, oh, crap. It has antibacterial properties. You choose how much, but it would be best to cut it completely or at least minimize it down as low as you can. Reduce prescriptions. All right. Big old problem. We are an over antibiotic world. I'm currently on an antibiotic, which is so rare. I haven't taken one in 8-10 years probably. The only time that I do, I don't know, my finger got infected, and you can see it's really red. So there was like a hangnail, and then it got infected, and it started just getting worse and worse. There's a time that antibiotics are great, but it will clean out all my bacteria in my body. Super bad. As soon as I'm off of these, I will start rebuilding that with a lot of the good foods as much as I possibly can. So afterwards, take probiotics. So taking a probiotic is not necessarily the answer. You can take one. It's kind of like sometimes taking certain vitamins. It's really, this just isn't a ton of research and proof that it helps, but it doesn't hurt to take one. I'd rather you get it from your foods, but it's the same thing we say with vitamins, but we don't. So you can take a probiotic. I'll look for, because I need to look for a new one, but you just get one that has a lot of diversity in it and use different ones. A lot of people will say, get one bottle of a certain kind, and then the next time you buy a different bottle, and then so different companies are putting in different things. Here's another huge one. If you want to literally destroy everything and have your body lead to almost every disease possible, you will take a PPI, proton pump inhibitor, reducing the acid in your stomach, which we get when we're eating poorly and we're drinking alcohol. We get a lot of acid in our body. And so you hear about the alkaline diets and things like that to bring your acid down. It's wrong. Your body literally, if you feed your gut microbiome properly and you're eating the right foods, your acid will take care of itself. And if you have a period, a day or something that you have an acidic stomach, don't take Mylanta or whatever it is over the counter. But all these are over the counter now. Destroys your gut microbiome. It destroys the acid, which then destroys the gut microbiome, because there are those different places in there, different acidity levels that these live in. So if you change that acidity by taking an antacid, you've got a problem. Antidepressants will kill your gut microbiome. So if someone says, well, I'm on this and it's helping me and I really need it, then okay, just know that your gut microbiome, and then this is going to lead to other problems. I mean, prescriptions in general are a problem. Birth control also will kill your gut microbiome. Okay, here's another big one. Artificial sweeteners. So Diet Coke. Not only Diet Coke and aspartame. And so I was listening to a podcast that really talked about this very subject right here. Aspartame is really carcinogenic. And also just destroys the gut microbiome more than I thought. So it was just a few days ago, I said, I'm done with Diet Cokes because I love them. I'm done. That's it. But all of the rest of all these artificial sweeteners, so you can look at it, the list, will kill your gut microbiome or hurt it. Here's a funny story with sucralose and Splenda. So when that came out in 2001 or something like that, 2001, somewhere in that area, it was the greatest sweetener. You could use it just like sugar, put it in your baked goods, and it tasted exactly. I mean, it was awesome. And so, but it was 0 calories. So we had training clients. I had a training studio, and we had training clients. And so we bought each of them a bag of Splenda for Christmas. That was our gift. Because we're like, this is what you have. This is what you eat. And now we know it's really bad. It's chlorine. So it's not good. Eat more meat and eggs. We've been eating them for how many million years has the earth been here? I don't know, right? You hear all different stuff. So biblically, or I don't know, whatever, we've been eating them for a long time. Research against meat and eggs, and I wrote this kind of sloppily, but it comes from rodent studies. And also there was a study that was done on children, and it was unhealthy children, meaning that they were on seed oils and a lot of other things at that time. And so there isn't really good research that shows that meat and eggs and it raising your cholesterol. Don't get me started on that. I will. It's not a bad thing. Eat meat and eggs. Eat the things that raise your cholesterol, because you want that cholesterol. Okay. Tap water. We fluoridate our water. It's not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. Get the fluoride out of your water. Don't drink that. Using fluoride toothpaste. I'll talk about the mouthwash in a second. Drinking good water. Reverse osmosis. We have a big Berkey container on our counter that has really massive filters on it, and that also has fluoride filters in the bottom. So something like that of getting good drinking water, and it's not necessarily from bottled water. If you can put reverse osmosis in your house, that's the best. But yeah, just not drinking tap water. Okay, so if I was going to say, I'm going to take an entire population and shorten their life tremendously and then eventually kind of wipe them off the planet, this is how I would do it. I tell them to follow a Western diet, like we all do if we're just eating haphazardly. I would tell them to follow the government food pyramid that you all learned in school, that every American Dietetic Association nutritionist teaches. And I know this because there are nutritionists, dietitians, they're different, in this town that will still teach this. And it will kill you. Proton pump inhibitor, 35,000 subjects taking PPI for 3 years, so proton pump inhibitor, your antacid, 35 to 40% increase in incidence in heart attacks and strokes for people that are taking it for 3 years. And there's a lot of people that pop one every day. So the more you take it, the more risk of heart attacks you can have. The body cannot heal. You'll have autoimmune diseases. You'll literally develop every disease known to man, the research has shown, based if you're taking a PPI. The longer you take it, the more you take it, the more problem it is. Cholesterol medication. All right, I'm going there. When you're taking a statin, every doctor, there are a lot of doctors that have said, I've heard them say, that every patient should be on a statin. It's not true. A statin, to lower your medication, to lower your cholesterol, which you want your cholesterol, it's okay. I'll tell you this. If you look at your blood test and you have your LDLs and you have your HDLs, and by the way, LDL is not bad cholesterol. There are some bad parts of it. And only when it becomes oxidized and turned into foam cells, which are sticky and create stenosis in our arteries, then it could be bad. But it only oxidizes and turns into a foam cell when you're eating a lot of sugar and high glycemic carbs. So LDL is not bad if you're healthy. And if you look at your HDL, so these two added together is your total cholesterol number. Okay. Take this number, and if this is 1 to 4 to HDL to LDL, I'm sorry, wrong. 4 to 1. So if you have at least 25% of your overall cholesterol as HDL, you're fine. The HDL takes care of everything in your body. So there, I said it. That's huge. It's very controversial, but there is so much research out there. There are so many books on this subject and shows that way. All right, drinking fluoridated water, cut that. Mouthwash. Yeah. Mouthwash destroys 99.9% of the bacteria in your mouth. And there are certain bacteria that only live in your mouth. You don't want to destroy that. And even though you spit it out, you've just killed all the bacteria that can do all the good and pre-digest your food before it gets to your stomach. And it doesn't. And then it goes out of the intestines because we have leaky gut. So, right, there's holes in the gut lining, which can be created by this. And then that particles can escape. Your body sees it as a foreign invader, goes and captures it, and then looks for other things that are like that. And you have autoimmune disorders. So, you look at this and say, wait, because I use mouthwash, I'll go to an autoimmune disorder? No, but this is one more thing that leads to destroying your gut microbiome. Increase your blood pressure. You lose the protective benefits of exercise. So you go exercise, you work hard, you take the time to do it, you pay for it maybe, whatever, and then you go and use mouthwash, which I do. I did. I don't anymore. When I told this to my daughter, our 15-year-old daughter, she said, deal breaker, Dad. No way, not going to happen. I'm like, okay, well, here's the reality of it. You become nitric oxide deficient. That's a whole nother video for a whole nother time. But nitric oxide, which is a gas that's made and created from your gut and the bacteria, and it's like a 1 second long. It exists for like 1 second, but it increases vascularity. So it's good for you, and we really need that. But you'll become NO deficient, nitric oxide deficient, and then kills 99% of the bacteria. Overprescribed antibiotics, I talked about that. Overprescribing antibiotics will lead to inflammation, oxidative stress, immune dysfunction, lose regulation of blood flow, heart attack, and stroke. So take an antibiotic if you need it, if it's kind of life-threatening or it's going to get worse, and it could. So that's what I think this was starting to spread on my finger. I'm like, I'll take the antibiotic, but I know how to rebuild my gut flora. It's going to take some time, and I hate doing it, but you need to. How to grow your microbiota diversity. I was going to write more. I should have just thrown this into there. But if you were born vaginally, that's where your start comes from. And research has shown that children that are born vaginally come out and have a certain microbiome or whatever diversity that others don't when they're born with C-section. Two of our kids are C-section. I didn't know this at the time, and sometimes that has to be done. There's an emergency and they need to get them out. But just know that breastfeeding, so formula will kill a child's gut microbiome, and then it's interesting. So children that are born into a house that have pets have a much stronger gut microbiome. And starting this way in your life, it's not that as adults or as we grow that we can't just go and kill it too, but this is how to strengthen a baby. So if you did these things wrong as a mom, it's over. It's whatever. Don't worry about it. And let me end on this. So gut microbiome, super important. Here's what intermittent fasting, so it's just one part of, and then fasting does it even more. If you have high blood pressure and low bile acids, so low acidity in your stomach, it's not doing well, literally intermittent fasting, eating 8 hours during the day, will lower your blood pressure, increase the acids, increase vasodilation, which increases nitric oxide production, all these things. It's just a cute little picture that I threw in there. Okay. Hopefully that helps. There's a lot to this. But literally just eating the way that we tell you to eat. And so one more thing, moderate exercise every day. So you don't have to go super hard. If you want to and you can, go super hard. Not eating one diet all the time. So someone will say, well, maybe I should eat vegetarian or I should eat like this. It's like, cool. You can do that for a little while, but then you got to switch it. You got to cycle it. That's the most important part and point, is giving your body diversity and cycling through the percentages. I know this is hard to do, but it's what works. I thought there was something more I was going to say on here, but I don't remember. So one more, I know what it is. Having a good eating plan, exercise at least moderately every day, and then getting 20 to 30 minutes of sun per day helps your gut microbiome. So going outside, summer, winter, whatever time of year it is, and expose as much skin as you can to the sun. The morning sun has different properties than the evening sun. It's still the sun, but there's different wavelengths. So going out for 20 minutes in the morning and then going out for 20 minutes in the evening. So right now it's what, 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, and you go take a walk. Expose as much sun as you can. Roll your sleeves up, or take your, I'm talking to women, take your shirt off. Or wear a sports bra, right? Or shorts, just exposing as much as you can to the sun. So those three things is exercise. It's hard to write on this. Nutrition. I actually have really good handwriting, but not on this. And then sun, 20 to 30 minutes a day. That's kind of the solution. Like all this complicated stuff, you're like, I don't get this. Like, what am I supposed to do? Right there, those three things. Stay off of mouthwash, fluoridated water, not following a Western diet. Watch your prescriptions, get off of them as much as you possibly can. Because look, here's the thing is pharmacopoeia. So pharmacies, right? Prescriptions. It's a business. It wasn't created for health. It was created for a business. And so you always have to take that into consideration. It's not that there aren't some really good things out there and things that are necessary or that you could use. It's just, remember, it's a business. Okay, I'm done. Y'all have a great day. See you soon.